Morning, guys. My name is George. I'm the founder of Blue Ocean Consultancy. I'm here to present to you about the operational strategy, ideally for a startup firm or for an existing firm who is willing to restructure the organization. So, this is going to be an operational strategy for startup firms or existing firms in Dubai. As you can see in this pyramid, up and down is the culture as the base of the pyramid, followed by people versus process, and finally leadership. Now, let's look at culture for a bit. Towards the extreme left, you'd see it says high context, and towards the extreme right, it says low context. Now, there is an ongoing study by Dr. Gert Hofstede from Netherlands who has derived two different types of cultures. Countries that fall under the high context culture are usually India, Pakistan, Dubai, the Middle East, Japan, and it's countries that usually tend to focus a lot towards culture, per se towards the business. Countries that fall under low context culture are the Scandinavian countries such as Norway, Denmark, Iceland, United States of America, UK, Germany, so on and so forth. Now, culture is absolutely critical for an operational strategy, especially for firms in Dubai, because Dubai is a mix of multicultural people. You have people from UK, you have people from Denmark, you have people from Holland, you have a major chunk of your people working from India, Bangladesh, so on and so forth. It's absolutely critical to be aware about what your culture plays a critical role so far as your operational strategy is concerned. There are a couple of points which are out here. I'm not going to go into each and every one of them. As you can see, you have power distance, indulgence versus restraint, so on and so forth. Just to take one example out of these, I would say, let's say long-term orientation versus short-term orientation. Individuals who are from a high context culture usually focus on long-term orientation. That is, when you speak about relationship, when you speak about business goals, when you speak about starting a business, they have a long-term perspective towards it, whereas people from low context culture have a short-term perspective towards a relationship, the business goals, the business vision, so on and so forth. The next and the most critical factor is people versus process. Countries that fall under high context culture usually are more people oriented in opposition to process oriented. So, let's say if you are a person, if you as a business are from Germany, which is from low context culture, but if you have people or employees working for high context culture, you need to be aware that these individuals would be more focused towards task completion. They usually tend to face a lot of emphasis on emotions or facts. Process is at the heart of everything that they do, and knowing but not doing any action. Now, this is the key part when you look at process is at the heart of everything that we do. Even though people in high context culture are more people oriented, process is at the heart of everything that we do. We'll be looking at that in detail when I'll be explaining the process side of the low context culture. We'll be touching upon that. So when you say about task completion, people of high context culture, they're purely focused on getting the task completed, which means they focus more on quantity in opposition to quality. Emotions or facts. How often do we hear people from high context culture stating that just because an elder has said it is right, just because this is how the way we've been doing it for years, it is right. So what they tend to do is they tend to focus a lot of emotions over facts. Process is at the heart of everything that they do. That is, they usually tend to blindly follow a set rule of instructions that needs to be followed, irrespective of various other factors which I'll be covering later on. Knowing but no action. People from high context culture and specifically are aware about what are the things that needs to be done, but they purely fail to act on it. If you look at low context culture, they are more process oriented, wherein they would validate every task. So let's say if you're from a low context culture, Ideally, what you would be doing is every given task in your operation, you would be validating it. You'd be checking, is it necessary? Is it absolutely critical to do that? One good way of doing that is to purely follow the 5 W's. That is, ask the same why 5 times for every task. That'll give you a good idea of why a particular task needs to be done. Now let's look at customers are at the heart of everything that we do. In opposition to processes at the heart of everything that we do. People from low context culture usually keep the customer at the heart of everything that they do. That is, if there are any changes that affect the customer, they would immediately do that irrespective of seeking superior assistance or managerial assistance. Why? Because customers at the heart of everything that we do, whereas people from high context culture, usually follow processes at the heart of everything that we do, which means they would say, well, unfortunately we cannot help you, sir, ma'am, because that's what a process is. People from low context culture always place emphasis on facts or emotion, and this is absolutely critical. They would try to challenge every particular thing that you do not believe in. They'll try to look at facts, they'll try to look at evidence. Now the key to make sure to point out about low context is that they would not rely purely on someone checking the facts for them. They would ideally individually want to go ahead and check the facts before going ahead and making any decisions. People from low context always usually tend to focus on constant improvement. There's absolutely no way to settle down. If you are the best in the industry, how is it that you can still improve your service? Quite simple. Corporate social responsibility. How often do we hear people from low context regions doing something for the community? That is helping, let's say, college education, spending a lot of funds for the society, so on and so forth. Recently in Dubai, one of the top executives has literally started a college education purely to help music industry, which has absolutely nothing to do with his industry. His industry is something to do with building golds and diamonds, but he spent a good fortune of money in helping people learn music. The final step, which is leadership. People from high context culture usually focus on people group decision when it comes to leadership. They usually tend to seek consensus from their friends, relatives, family members, try to look up on Google what should be the right thing that needs to be done rather than what is the right thing. Similarly, people from low context culture focus purely on individual discretion. They take the leadership purely based on gut feeling, looking at facts, but the decision is solely responsible for them, and they are the ones who definitely go out and make that obvious choice.